In this people's poll,
we're talking about the sack race.
The Fantasy Football Show.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to The Final Plan, the show each and every Monday where James and I bring you a topic of your choice. How are you, James?
I'm right, mate, yeah.
End of another weekend of football and all that. A bit of a funny one with so many games on Saturday and nothing really yesterday. I mean, it was a good game yesterday, entertaining Premier League football, but very compressed on Saturday. Weird to be like pretty much all my players bar one had played on Saturday, so you kind of knew where you stood from an FPL point of view by Saturday night, really, which was a bit different, a bit weird. You always have at least 2-3 players on a Sunday, and quite often a captain on a Sunday if one of the European clubs is playing on a Sunday. So yeah, it was a bit different, but all good. What are we talking about today?
People's poll.
It is.
As per Monday, not the final plan, as you normally like to announce that it is at the start of a week. 4 options went out. Wales, Golf, Madrid.
So I saw that posted on Twitter. I didn't see it often. I thought someone had made that up as a meme.
No, so Gareth Bale was parading the flag, which was made by someone, I don't know who, on the pitch after Wales had qualified Tuesday night. He did not go down well in Madrid. I thought it might be nice to have a chat about Wales and Bale because the stream last week got rather sabotaged by the Pochettino news, so we never really spoke about them.
But I honestly thought that flag was a fake, like someone had photoshopped in the words afterwards.
No, it was legit. It was legit.
Come on, Bailey, use your noggin.
I also put out an idea which I thought was cute, but like nobody picked up on it. Was the idea of a discussion of a dream team African Premier League 11. How can you fit Drogba, Salah, Mane, all those in the same team? I thought it might be something interesting, something different, because some of the FPL topics feel quite repetitive at the moment, which is why I think TAA and Robbo didn't win the vote. I don't think
didn't come far behind.
No, it was close. I got moved off a bit once you started saying I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I did try and sabotage.
It's been done to death. The only reason I felt it might be worthwhile us talking about it is because Sidge and I have been very pro the idea.
Yeah.
So I did want to try and attack it from the other end, which we can talk a little bit on the main podcast tonight.
Yeah, I think TAA is the one that's getting a little bit of people getting cold feet over TAA. It's funny because he obviously is the one that's had a bit of a price rise, and Robbo's back to where he started, and Robbo's outscored him now.
Yeah, it's only one real return for TAA in 7, I think. So that's why people get itchy. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later when we talk about Palace Liverpool. The winner of the poll is the sack race. There's a queue. They're fighting each other for it, aren't they?
Yeah, there is a bit of a queue. It's funny. We had FPL_Ada tagged me into a tweet when I retweeted the poll and said, I don't want to talk about TAA and Robbo. Can you vote for something else? Why do you put topics in your poll that you don't want to speak about? And I was like, well, to be honest, James, just to be clear, James does the poll on a Sunday. So sometimes we'll have a chat about it, but more often than not. So I don't really get a say in it. And I think even you'll sometimes put things in that people have suggested, but maybe not necessarily are things that we
listen.
Really
sometimes I put things in the poll that are kind of topic of conversation,
whatever,
that I think
templates. And
it's
all
not
that
really what I'd choose, but it's in the chatter at the moment.
We can and will.
What the problem is when I put 4 things in the vote like that, and TA and Robbo kind of being the only real kind of FPL one, that's automatically going to pick up some traction. I need to do either 4 FPL subjects or 4 non-FPL subjects. Yeah,
I think you're right. FPL does seem to... I mean, I was going to say FPL does take over a lot of the Q&A that we do, but then we are an FPL show, aren't we, really? So we try and approach it from a football-first point of view, but we are an FPL show at the end of the day. However, this sack race thing...
Sack race
thing... So we'd say that at the moment, Silva, Pellegrini, Emery, and probably Ole Gunnar Solskjaer are the top 4 to be sacked, according to the bookies right now. Hassan, Hootel and Farker are okay. Someone else jumped in the comments and said maybe Flores, even though it's only been a handful of games, I also think he's okay. But yeah, Pellegrini, Silva and Emery.
At the time of recording, first thing Monday morning, and we have to say that because we think there could really be some news on Marco Silva pretty much any time. That's the talk and the chatter going around Merseyside last night, which really calmed down. Marco Silva's now 4-9 favourite in the sack race. When I last looked, when I went to bed, he was 1-6. There's been a marketable move for Unai Emery overnight. They are fighting each other to get sacked.
Yeah.
Unai Emery is 7-2.
And I mean, if you look at it from performances on the pitch, Pellegrini's far more deserving of losing his job than the other two, in my opinion. But it lends itself to a slightly wider, bigger conversation as well about when you talk about the sack race, people are losing their jobs. Why? Because the teams are underperforming. And why the question is, why are the teams underperforming? Because it can be the players, not just the manager, right? There's other factors at play here. You look at Arsenal. It's only Emery's. Emery hasn't been there long. He's had one full season and now 3 months.
Well, Emery, Silva, and Pellegrini are all the same.
Same length of time, right? Pellegrini, we're talking about 5 weeks ago, or 5 or 6 games ago, that we were in the top 6, and the talk was, look, the side could really kick on here. Marco Silva, you look at the run at the end of last season, it was one of the reasons why so many people were thinking about Everton players for the start of this season, because they had a good run. I mean, how many games did they go without conceding a goal at the back end of last year? It was like 7 home clean sheets in a row. They were playing well. Like, it's a matter of 6 to 8 games, and opinion shifts so quickly. Is the variable then at that point the manager? Or is it the players, or the system, or the way they've set up, or the way they are or are not getting motivated?
Or at the top.
Yeah, again, that's what it can come down to sometimes. I don't know how much that trickles down onto the pitch, though.
From experience, the vibe of being unhappy with the ownership at a football club is not going to be very helpful to what happens on the pitch. I think you get some very rare cases. I'm thinking of United with the green and gold campaign against the Glazers when they still won titles. But generally speaking, if there's unrest with the supporters towards the ownership of the football club, the team on the pitch is going to struggle.
Yeah.
There are certainly, you could argue, in the cases of Emery, Silva and Pellegrini, you could argue there is there's calmed at West Ham a bit, but there is obviously, particularly at Arsenal, unrest towards the ownership there as well. Like at Arsenal, they just fucking hate everyone associated with their club.
Yeah, they do.
Including the players, the owners, the manager.
I watched the 2 or 3 AFTVs on Saturday night as it popped up on my feed. I mean, it would have been even more entertaining had they lost rather than scrape that draw with that stupidly injury time equaliser. Troops was mad. These, like, one guy's chucking his season ticket away.
I saw that dude.
They are.
Robbie went to him. Yeah, get your season ticket, mate.
Yeah, I mean, come on, that's not really going to help or solve any problems. But one of the problems you had with Poch was that the players weren't being coached. The problems I see at West Ham are tactical, like the way what the players are doing on the pitch. And I believe that the mistakes they're making on the pitch are coming from the manager right here, right now. So from my point of view, the issue is the manager here. I don't think he's giving the players good instructions.
We don't want this to become a West Ham
show. No,
show.
we don't. But my point is here, where's the problem? And so for me, I know where my problem is because I see my team week in, week out.
What I was going to say is, would you sack him? That's what I'm asking.
100%.
Yeah, got to go.
100%. We went into half-time 2-0 down, and I'm just trying to imagine myself in the dressing room getting a team talk from Pellegrini 2-0 down when you have to come out fighting, when the team have been booed off the pitch, which I don't agree with at all. I hate it when players get booed and teams get booed. But the team was booed off the pitch at half time.
Rightly so.
Well, no, I don't think you should ever boo your own team. That's my point of view.
No, actually, no, I agree with that. But what I mean is that I think to be expected
was poor. Yeah, but I don't see Pellegrini then coming in and saying like, "Come on, guys, let's sort this out." Because I've never seen him speaking other than that single tone of voice that he has, which is calm and measured. Give him a team of
winners,
already existing good players. Tactically, he can sort them out. But here, I don't see it as his.
I'm not
battle.
sure. I'm not sure he is tactically. I think his strength has come from that calmness. I think that has a real stabilising effect for a lot of people with better technical qualities. He's managed good side. He did obviously very well at Villarreal. He did okay at Real Madrid. And obviously, he did well at City for periods, but then you've got all the riches that come with that as well.
Of course.
I think he's a calming influence for people who are good technically. West Ham don't have enough good players for that. I think West Ham need fire in their belly. Like you always say, like, oh, you get up for those games. You weren't up for Saturday, mate.
No, there was only two or three players that were, and everybody else wasn't. But we'll talk about that on Tottenham. So let's give that a plug. Tomorrow being Tuesday, Tottenham, the show each and every week where James and I talk in more detail about Tottenham and West Ham and the fact that we played each other this weekend.
I'll get him on that.
We'll make it even tastier. You'll get me on that. We'll see. I mean, you can't win when you come off a defeat like that. So bring it on. But my point being that at West Ham, I see I wouldn't necessarily have made many changes to the lineup or the formation or anything like that. It was more, once they were on the pitch, what were they doing? At Arsenal, more often than not, the selection is questioned a lot. And that now, this weekend, they went in with, 3 centre-backs in Chambers.
That lasted
Luiz,
45 minutes.
And Socrates. If you were going to play 3 centre-backs, then maybe Maitland-Niles, because he's more of a forward-thinking wide player, would have been a better option. I don't know. But quite often they'll play with 3 holding midfielders, Xhaka, Torreira and Guendouzi. That gets questioned. Ozil in, Ozil out. So his selection is questioned before they're even on the pitch with Arsenal. Like Pepe, £80 million. How long has he been benched for now? Well, why is it that you can't get a tune out of an £80 million player? 30 to 40, I can understand. So with Emery, it's almost before they get on the pitch that his decision-making is being questioned rather than tactically. And then Marco Silva's a funny one. I'm a fan of Marco Silva and what he did at Hull, and even for certain periods at Watford and certain periods at Everton. I'm not sure about Marco Silva. I haven't watched enough Everton games to really have an educated opinion on it.
The only sympathy I have with Marco Silva, and he's slight, is obviously he's in a position at the moment with Gomez has had the serious injury, Fabian Delph's injured. He bought Gabam in the summer, who has barely featured because of injury. So he's stuck in a position where you've got Tom Davis, who's a tidy footballer, and Morgan Schneiderlin, who's not really played well, other than a very brief spell towards the end of last season. Since his Southampton days, hasn't played well. So in midfield, that's bog average, man. But I don't think he's helping himself. I described them after they played us as Arsenal light. That's what they are. And where you've got to this place where suddenly Theo Walcott's back in the side. They had a position last year. We spoke in the summer about Calvert-Lewin and the idea that don't buy anyone, play him up front and get people around him like Sigurdsson, Richarlison, who will get enough goals. And
Bernard and stuff. Bernard can finish.
So they bought Moise Kean. Barely seen a minute. All right, he's young. Maybe he's struggling to adapt. We don't know. Now Tossen's back in the team. The Tossen's what he sounds like. He's bang average, man. Put Calvert-Lewin back in the team. It's little things like it felt like they bought players with like Ken, Alex Iwobi, who have got a bit of pace. You ain't playing them. And Everton fans are frustrated that it's a very stagnated brand of football at the moment. It's very slow.
That's the same problem at West Ham.
You look at Everton statistically. I think they've had the 6th most shots in the league this season, and they've faced the 2nd least only Man City have conceded less shots on goal than Everton this season. You could say they're a statistic buster. Not playing good football, mate.
No.
Bang average. Yeah, he's got no flexibility in his tactics away from like 4-2-3-1.
You look at the game when we went to Goodison though, and it was Schneiderlin and no, actually it was Gomez. Sorry, Gomez and Davis in midfield,
yeah.
and they played really well. They were up for that game. That was not a game won on talent. It was one on effort, and then the talent was the icing on the cake, let's say. It was one on effort. They outfought us that day. So why can't they play at that level every week?
In hindsight, was it because it was West Ham?
No, I don't think it was. That particular game was just after Bournemouth, where we'd drawn 2-2. So Flappy we just lost Flappy halfway through the previous game.
It's gone to pot since Flappy got injured, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's a question for another show. But on that given day, it was just after the international break, game week 8 from memory, and they'd come back fighting, knowing that they were at risk of dropping into the bottom 3 and being in and around that. So they came out fighting. You can't afford in this Premier League to have an off day on any day, because the opposition, if they're on a good day, will beat you. It's been shown time and time and time again. There are no easy games left anymore. Hardly.
I'm talking of easy games. Everton's next 5 is brutal.
Yeah, Everton are in real trouble. Like, if you said to me now, you can have 6 points between now and the end of the season as a West Ham fan, I'd take it. For Everton,
6 points?
Yeah, between now and the end. Not now and the end of the season. Now and the end of the year. Sorry, I meant end of December.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you'll find yourself in the bottom 3 if that's the case.
Yeah, but I'll take it right now.
Really?
Based on the fixtures we've got, come on, man. We've got Chelsea, Arsenal, Leicester as 3 of our next 5.
There are other games, about 8 games in December, mate.
We've got Southampton and Bournemouth are the other 2 that come to mind where we can pick up points. The point is not about how many points we can pick up. I think if we're in a bad situation with our fixture run, there's always someone worse, isn't there? And Everton have got a horrid run.
Yeah, starting within the next week, Leicester away and Liverpool away. Yeah, good luck with that. Interestingly, with them, Everton, a little bit like what I said earlier, there's problems at the top. So you've got Mashiri, who's the majority shareholder. There's some frustration with, who's kind of been doing it and assisting Bill Kenwright, who's been there for a very long time. And Marcel Brands, who was quite lauded for some of his signings as, I think he might even be technical director rather than director of football, forgive me. He's quite lauded for some of them early signings like Luca Dean and Bernard and that. And the transfer policy is not great. It's been throw shit at anything for Everton for a very, very long time. So the frustration at Goodison is right throughout that club. The rumour that went round last night was that he'd go at like any point. David Unsworth, who ironically managed the team at Leicester last season, would step in as interim and expect David Moyes to get the job till the end of the season. Now, David Moyes had a brilliant spell for 8-9 years at Everton. Has done nothing since he left the football club. I know you quite liked him.
I didn't like him.
But I didn't hate him. For Everton Football Club, it's incredibly uninspiring. And one of the things that got mentioned and we said we'd speak about on this pod was the idea in terms of expectation. So, like, what is the expectation of Everton Football Club? Well, it certainly shouldn't be to 15th or 16th in the league, wherever they are, particularly bearing in mind they've got these 5 awful fixtures to come. They've had the best fixture run so far this season of any side. You shouldn't be in that position. It's why we looked at their FPL assets early, was because it was like, shit, until December, mate, look at their fixtures.
Yeah.
And there's been, Sigurdsson, Richarlison, Luca Dean, they've all, from that perspective, disappointed. The problem for saying Everton is, all right, yeah, they're underperforming, but they'll look at Leicester, who they're going to play this weekend. And that's our clash of the correspondents this week on Thursday. Yeah, I know, brilliant timing.
I can't wait to get Sean on. I tell you what, Sean, if you are listening, we'll try and talk about refereeing more than we'll talk about Everton, because that's something that we really share a hatred of at the moment.
Are a much bigger club than Leicester.
Yep.
Seriously, I won't have anybody tell me different. So the frustration is looking at them, looking at all them good young players they bought, looking at the way they're playing, etc. So that's where the expectation problem is. That's the issue. The way Leicester and Chelsea are playing is causing everybody a lot of problems for those who were expected to challenge. And it's the same even for yourselves. All right, there probably would have been a greater expectation at Everton this year to try and push for the top 6 more than yourselves. But it's the same problem. You have to look at it and go, well, look at how well Leicester have been managed and coached and the type of players they're buying, and why can't we be like that? So, yeah, Leicester City is really not helping anybody's situation at the moment.
Nah, I agree with you on that. But, I mean, when you're talking about higher expectations, right, there are only so many spots in the league. Like, only one team can finish top, right? And you've got 6 very big clubs in the top 6 that we always talk about. Then there's no right for anyone to be 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th anymore. And so when we have expectations, we've got to be a bit realistic as well, that you may have the financial means to get to 7th or 6th, even if to break in the way Leicester are doing. But if you don't perform week in, week out, you get taken to the cleaners. There are young, hungry teams that will that will show what can be done, like Burnley and Sheffield United being where they are, 5th and 6th or whatever they're on the table. I have no idea now. Just shows it all. Like Sean Dyche has taken Burnley to Europe. Just think about that as a concept.
He might again.
Yeah. So, and it's down to hunger. Like they had a bad game against Sheffield United, Burnley, right? I knew for a fact that it wasn't going to happen twice in a row. The way they let in 3 goals against Sheffield United, I knew for a fact. I mean, okay, it helped that they were playing us straight after, but it could have been anyone. Sean Dyche was going to sort those guys out because there was no way that he was going to let it happen 2 games in a row.
No coincidence that 2 clean sheets followed.
Yeah, nothing. But for Everton, West Ham, and these clubs, you can't see that. I can't.
Well, that's the
build
point,
the
isn't it?
confidence
So,
at all.
like, with hunger, so like, I mean, Arsenal were always such a case for this. So, desire is a big problem for them. Like, I think through the structure of that whole football club, from the way the owner don't give a fuck to we hearing about the chairman, is it Chips someone or other?
Keswick.
Thank you, Suj. He's potentially think to stand down. I mean, he's old anyway. He's like 79 or something.
Yeah.
But feels like he's getting marginalised in the debate. You've got Edu, who's come in, is doing some of the technical stuff in terms of looking at players. I'm not sure how much of a role he's getting. Then it goes down to the manager. The manager's not getting the turnout of the players. The fans don't particularly like many of the players. I mean, all this captaincy stuff about Xhaka, like Aubameyang captain, that's what you're coming up with.
Was that a player's vote again?
I don't know. I mean,
be interested to know.
Bellerin's probably the best choice there for that, but he's young as well. There's no leaders in that team. So there's a problem from top to bottom at Arsenal, which I think is going to take a very long time to sort out. It's interesting what you're talking about desire there, because the manager's under trouble. I think any football fan can deal with the getting beat and you play well. It's that. I mean, you must have walked out Saturday and gone, "Fuck was that, man?"
Yeah. It was disappointing and depressing in a lot of different ways. And you know the annoying thing? I'm an optimistic football fan. From what I saw, had we been up for the game, we could have got something out of that game. I didn't think like we were outplayed, or I did see things in Spurs that, like, if we'd have gone for the game, there was every chance we could have scored goals, and the Spurs team were there for the taking. Had we wanted to, we just rolled over. So yeah, it is frustrating. It comes back to, I don't think the gulf in sides like Everton, West Ham, and so on, and some of the bigger teams is that big. It's just down to how much you want it on the day. And you see what Chris Wilder's doing and Sean Dyche is doing. I mean, okay, Eddie Howe, Bournemouth are real hit and miss at the moment, but you can't deny his coaching. I mean, like, we were driving. You have
to remember how small that club
exactly.
is.
We were driving to the ground, and we were talking about Pellegrini out before the game. I was talking that my brother, my cousin was with me because he took my brother's wife's ticket. He's a Man United fan, and another mate of mine who supports West Ham. I said to the guys, look, Bournemouth, Eddie Howe is a decent coach of their tiny club. I was like, guess how many seats in their stadium? Went from like 18,000 to 15,000. So I was like, guys, there's 9,000 people in that club, right?
No, it's more than that.
Is it 9?
It's about 11.
Is it 11 now? Yeah. Either way, I thought we had a conversation around 9. It's
we'll
fuck all. Yeah, let's agree.
Yes, we can go with that.
That's £2.5 to £3 million per match day in gate receipts more that the club like ours is making per week. Man, it's mad. So anyway, whatever the Bournemouth Stadium attendance is, you're doing incredibly well for the size of club.
I think in closing,
they're overperforming. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I think there's 15 months is around about a tipping point, in my opinion, for a football manager. I feel like, obviously, Flores has gone back in at Watford. I think the result at the weekend was damaging against Burnley when they'd obviously had the good result against Norwich. I feel Hassan Hootel is just about within that period where there's a little grace, and they keep having the odd good performance like at Arsenal at the weekend, and you think, I mean, they absolutely should have won at Arsenal. But you do think, all right, they've recovered from the Leicester game a little bit, where we kind of looked at it and went, yeah, untenable. You know, the performance at Man City, they've got 2 very big home games coming up, and that will decide his future. Like, if they beat Watford and Norwich at home, then they can potentially move on and get over it. If they take 1 point from those 2 games, he's almost certainly fucked. I think 15 months is very much a point for a manager where if you're not getting the turn at that point, and there's unrest from the supporters of the football club, you can't turn it around. Like, I think we would agree on this, that like Pellegrini, Silva, Emery, 100% they're going. There's no turning back on it.
I mean, look, we've got 2 tough games coming up in Chelsea and Arsenal. Should he win both, which is a stretch, then yeah, he's going to get until the new year.
What's your league game after that?
I think then it's Southampton away.
You'd definitely lose that, wouldn't you?
Well, I don't know.
But I'm saying if you beat Arsenal and Chelsea,
we'd lose.
It's the weakness, yeah.
We'd lose the next one, yeah. I don't deny that. So yeah, I mean, it's one game. He's into one game at a time territory, and at that point, do you know what? If he left now, it wouldn't be like a very hostile, negative him leaving. It'd be like, you know what? You stabilised us for a year, got some good new signings in. We had some really good results under Pellegrini. We've beaten a lot of the big boys at our own place. We've got some decent memories with him. Off you go, and let's now start building for the future with a younger manager who can do it. So timing is everything. Like, even Poch, he left. You'd been on an awful run, but it was handled in a way enough that in amongst that you had some really good results. Champions League, you know, the time is right. Let's move on with our lives. Emery's getting a little bit hostile. Marco Silva's getting a little bit hostile. But I think Pellegrini could still get away with leaving in the next 2-3 games and not being vilified as much as some of the others maybe.
I don't think it needs to be, would he? I think that's the point though, isn't it? That the 3 of them, we haven't even spoke about Solskjaer.
No.
Save it
for the main pod. Because that was a good game, actually. That's a game we can talk about.
Terrific game.
Yeah.
I think the 3 of them are at a point of no return. Whether they go now, in the summer, they'll go at some point between now and then, all 3 of them.
Mm.
And at which point it does, cause a second debate of, we'll just get it done.
Yeah. As soon as you're into one game at a time territory, I'm like, just move on, right? Lack of confidence is a really bad place to be. We'll talk a little bit more about the managerial situation in Tottenham, which comes out tomorrow, being Tuesday, where James and I talk a bit more about Tottenham and West Ham from 2 points of view. I think I'm interested in the Pellegrini side of things from a West Ham point of view after that performance. You watched the game. I'm more interested in what you think of the tactics and the setup and the way the players played, but also from a Tottenham point of view, who have made the managerial change now. You've got Jose in. Like, is there that new manager bounce, or is there going to be a change in Tottenham, and are they going to kick on from that managerial change? So
we'll talk about it tomorrow.
We will indeed. Anything else to add today?
No.
I don't think
PlanetFPL
so
main
either.
podcast tonight. Tottenham tomorrow. Sky Wednesday. Clash of the Correspondents. Leicester Everton on Thursday with Anoop and Sean. Foxy FPL and Spirit Blues. Final plan Friday. I'm really looking forward to that
It's going to be... Well, could there be any two correspondents that might be on differing ends of the spectrum right now?
Don't know. We're going to have to look after Sean a bit, I think.
Yeah. It's a lot of content coming out again this week. How did you do in Sky, by the way?
Shit.
Really? I captained Vardy over Aubameyang this week, thinking I'd be a little cheekier.
Oh, well done.
I did, but then I bought in Baldock yesterday, and I've got a plan to keep him for 8 weeks or so, 6, 7, 8 weeks, I think it is. And he managed to get me a 0 point with the conceding of the goals.
I do actually have a transfer planned for this weekend. I do know what it is now.
Mine are planned for the next 8 weeks. So Sky, actually,
Yes.
I'm going to be dropping my actual plan this week. It'll be something to listen to.
All right,
So plenty of content. Do share this if you have any comments and suggestions on the sack race and your thoughts and opinions on how the teams are playing, especially for the likes of Everton, where I don't see enough of the games. I'd love to see some comments from that. And we'll be back at you Monday evening with the main podcast, Planet FPL. Ciao for now.
Cue music, man, child.
The Fantasy Football Show.